like how long would it take for, our default rate is currently at what, 0.02% or something outrageous in Canada.
Mhm.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see the default rate increase early in 2023. I think there's going to be a lot of people that were already kind of at the bootstraps that are really going to have to the numbers are like their dollars and cents are going to be very tight in early in the year. And I think that extra rate increase could really, hit the precipice where people are in a very precarious position where they might not be able to afford that mortgage payment.
You're listening to the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast with your hosts, Paul Stevenson, David Warren, and Greg Campbell. Let's see what's going on in the world of real estate today.
Hello! Hey, we are back.
I have nothing to drink. I have nothing in my hand. I'm devastated. I need to get something in my hand.
Go get something in your hand. I'll make the intros, and we'll keep this rolling. Welcome to the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast. We are back. I am here by myself right now, just a talking head. My name is Paul Stevenson. I am a mortgage agent, and you can check me out at PaulStevenson.ca. I'm joined, as always, by Greg Campbell. Greg Campbell is a realtor and a managing director at the Agency Ottawa.
The Agency Ottawa.
The agency. And David Warren, who is not yet here, but we do expect him to slide in. David Warren is a mortgage agent as well and an owner at Referral Mortgages here in Ottawa. And we're here. We're back. It is November 22nd when this is released.
It's November 22nd. It means it's almost Christmas time.
Ooh.
I can't handle it.
Use the C word.
I can't handle it.
I actually started adulting recently. Got my lights up. There's a real ambiance on my street right now, which is fantastic. Last year, there was no lights. A couple new neighbors, lights everywhere. We're the West End Taffy Lane.
Nice.
I bought a 11-foot blow-up snowman. Okay, I have timers. On my lights and my snowman. It's amazing. I feel like an adult. It's great.
It's good. I actually put up lights. My family's been bothering me for quite a while to put up lights. I don't put up lights. I'm not a lights guy. So I picked up some lights. There are some lights on our house now. Blue and white lights. Christmas.
More of a lights out guy.
Christmas time. More of a lights out guy. Yeah. I like to light it up, and then I like to go lights out.
Speaking of lights out, I was just telling you guys a story before we came on. I was out for dinner with a couple friends on Friday and went to a really nice restaurant, if you're in Ottawa, called Le Poisson Bleu. Really good fish spot. Somerset and Wellington. No, was it Somerset and Wellington? Somerset and Bank, somewhere in that range, somewhere in that area. Just Google it. But very, very good. I was very impressed. Great food, great service, nice people. Lights out.
Lights out.
Lights out. Yeah, the reason I say that, we were in a wine bar before that, and we were just having some drinks, and we were talking about two different restaurants we were thinking of, and this random stranger just walks in and says, you got to try Poisson Bleu. Lights out. That's his only comment, and so that basically twisted our arm, and we went. It was fantastic.
I can't wait. Yeah, I'm gonna go try that. Definitely.
World Cup started yesterday. Huge soccer fan. Love the World Cup. Canada's in it. England played today, which will be yesterday. They just won 6-2. Very happy about that. Very interesting situation right now. Not to get too far off of the topic of real estate, but we definitely have had a lot of controversy with the World Cup and how people are getting it. There's actually a documentary right now, if anyone's interested, on Netflix called FIFA Uncovered, I think it is, and they get into all the hoopla of the World Cup and Russia having it, Qatar having it, and so on. But very interesting. But let's get into real estate, Greg. Enough about my rambling.
I like your rambling, and I like real estate.
Rent stats. You had some stats for the West End that were pretty mind blowing when we were looking at them yesterday.
Paul, Barrhaven.
Sorry,
South.
South. And some stats, and then I actually had an article that was perfectly segued from your stats you sent us today. So maybe if you want to get into the
let's look at
stats.
So I went through like, 4 different items here: detached homes, towns and semis, condos, and rentals. So, for starting with detached homes, the numbers are pretty crazy. 88 active detached. This is in the last 4 weeks. The last 4 weeks, let me be clear. There's currently 88 active listings, detached homes, averaging 56 days on market at an average price of $926,000. There's 5 conditionally sold right now. It took them an average of 59 days to sell, and we're at a conditionally sold price of $820,000. That's a big difference over the $926,000 list price. That's almost $100,000 different. Now, in the last 4 weeks, 36 detached homes have sold, averaging 59 days on market again, and the average sales price is $789,000. So that's way under the active, and that's under the conditional sales price. So what does that mean? And last year, at the same time, 49 properties sold, averaging 17 days on market at a price of $838,000. So you can see right now we're basically below what the sales price for detached homes in Barrhaven was last year. And if you go through my list here, it's basically the same thing. I don't know if I want to go.
Can we hold on? Yeah, let's stick on Barrhaven for a second with these.
No, I'm on Barrhaven. It's all Barrhaven.
Right, but just with this stat specifically, like, what do you make of this, and where do you think that's trending? Like,
I don't know.
What do you think is coming
and this
from
is the thing. Like, it's trending that way in towns and semis, and it's looking that way in condos. Are kind of the same as last year, but the towns and semis are also they're selling now below what they were at the same time last year. So we're 100,000 plus. No, sorry, that's not right. We're about the same average as last year, but we're almost 100,000 down. If you want to compare it to what prices were earlier this year, in give or take, obviously every situation.
Well, I don't want to do that anyways. I don't want to compare them.
Yeah, I don't want to compare that. Let's not compare. But again, the staggering number here for me, anyways, I thought this, and we all can agree to this. There's 178 active rentals in Barrhaven right now. 178. Average price $2,533, averaging 37 days on market. There's 75. Oh, I did some of my edits here wrong. There's 75 that were rented in the last 4 weeks. $2,314 is the average price. Last year, there was 54 sold in the same amount of time. And the average price was $2,261. So the average price of the active ones, again, just like in the properties listed for sale, is above what they're renting for. So, maybe, and that's an indication that the rental prices are coming down.
Yeah, I mean, the average
what
rent
they were last year.
The average rent, looking at $2,261 versus $2,314. I mean, that would be like a very natural.
Similar. Yeah,
increase,
exactly.
That
seems like a proper increase. But the question is, how many of those rentals are new investors that are already paying above and beyond what their actual mortgage and fees are? How many are losing monthly on that?
Right. They bought those up during the pandemic, and now they're struggling to rent them out, or they're.
That's right, because to have 178 active rentals, that's crazy to me. And I only had the time to go through Barrhaven this week, but I'm going to hit the other markets for next week's show. And anyone listening, if you want these stats or these beautiful presentations I've created to see this, just send me an email and I'll send them over to you. I don't have a landing page up where I can put these yet, but I will soon. But if you want to see these stats, send me an email in the liner notes. You'll see that, and I'll be happy to send it over to you. They're also on my Facebook page, and they'll be on my Instagram.
David, welcome.
Good day. Good day.
We rambled for about 4 minutes about dinner and the World Cup, hoping you'd slide in, and but you didn't miss much.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Sorry, listeners. I'm late. I think your those stats about of the rentals is certainly interesting, and for those that are renting, kind of those numbers give you an indication that, maybe negotiate with your landlord. If the average listing is 2,500 and change, and they're renting for 23 and change, maybe it gives you, with that many listings, it gives you a little bit of flexibility to negotiate on them.
Absolutely. And I think the big thing right now is that
about it.
With everybody, not complaining. I mean, it's a fact. Like, people are talking about how the cost of rent has gone up, their cost of rent, their landlords are requesting more money. It comes to a point where you can leverage the fact that you have options. You have other places you can go. Not like, convenience is obviously priority over moving, but there's options now because there's so much available. So exactly. I wouldn't be afraid to, if your landlord comes at you and says they're going to raise the rent, I would sit there and negotiate until you can't.
Come at me, bro.
Come at me, bro.
There was an article this weekend on from CTV. It said average rent in Canada up nearly 12% year over year to almost $2,000. Now, this is obviously across the country, but it says average rent in Canada rose nearly 12% year over year last month to almost $2,000. A new national report is found. The latest national rent report from Rentals.ca and the Toronto real estate research firm Urban Nation shows average rent prices rose 11.8% in October, or $209, compared to the same month last year, to an average of $1,976 across all property types. This data includes vacant, single, and semi-detached homes, townhouses, condominium apartments, rental apartments, and basement apartments. This is more than double the 5.6% annual increase in average hourly wages in Canada. Average rent in October rose 2.2% from September. Let's see. The unprecedented growth in rents underway is broad-based across Canada, with most markets reporting double-digit annual rent inflation. That was Sean Hildebrand, president of Urban Nation. The rental market keeps getting hotter with each interest rate increase, coupled with a record high increase in the population. The need to ramp up rental supply has never been greater, he says. I would agree.
I think it's interesting. I know it's contradictory to what we're talking about with, looking at Barrhaven as a snapshot of having a lot of rentals. I think it is, looking at the city, with, looking at the core, maybe, where rents are maybe up. I'd be interested to see what that looks like, in comparison to, say, a Barrhaven. But yeah, I mean, I've seen in reports, so in appraisals I've gotten for multi-residential for clients, where we've looked at what average rents are even 6 months ago, and getting an updated one now, and it's been they've been up, and the values have come up on those multis because of the projected rents. So I think it is, a little bit. Obviously this article is contradictory to what we were just saying about negotiating with your landlord in that area. I think it is area specific. Yeah. When comparing this, these increases, but I mean, really with the average, with rates going up, is the average carrying cost is just going to increase. I mean, obviously when when a property goes vacant, they're able to re-rent it. They're going to look to cover, break even or not incur too significant a loss. So with another further increase in December, I think you'll probably see another bump again in a bunch of these units that come up.
So what gives? What gives with the average Canadian, right? Who's looking to get into the market? I mean, people can't really afford homes right now, as far as the prices are coming down, but as far as qualifying, what people qualify for is kind of still sitting around that average home price. So I mean, it's all relative. But if you're not able to buy a home, you don't have the down payment, and rent just keeps going up and up and up. I mean, I think it's going to cause a lot of people to have to stay where they are, right? Because they just can't afford any. There's no upgrade opportunity because they just they're in that budget, and most people are on a fixed income in Ottawa specifically. But what other options are there? I mean, obviously creating more rentals. We talked about the affordable housing conspiracy,
programs,
I guess you could call it, in Ottawa and in Canada. But what else is there? I mean, we've talked about lowering the cost of barrier to entry as far as new builds. But I mean, even you break ground today, you're still talking 6 months down the road before completing any of these builds. So what other options are there, gentlemen? What can we do here?
So I think a number of the I mean, there's obviously a number of properties sitting on the market. I would imagine a number of those, and Greg, I think weeks ago you touched on it, that a number of those listings that you had, they didn't have to sell. They were kind of just testing to see if their rental would sell. These are properties that are not in the rental pool right now. If people that are sitting on the sidelines, there's obviously demand, like home buyers just renting and staying in their rentals instead, or staying at home with their parents instead of buying because they see interest rates up. But when you looking at what the average price, let's say in Ottawa, in March of $850 for average single, and now in October you're I think it's like high sixes. You got a $175,000 difference in home values. Really, when you break it down, even with the increased interest rate, you're still going to come out ahead at the end of the day on that mortgage. So it's just kind of people wrapping their head around what that looks like, to maybe for those home buyers getting into the market, getting out, for those people transitioning into buying, which then frees up additional rental supply. And so you don't have, that increase in the more demand there is. And obviously that's going to come up as well. Those rents are going to come up if there's a high demand in an area, let alone obviously interest rates, increasing payments.
Yeah, I think that's the thing too. Like when you're dealing with rental properties, everyone who, I think we talked about this last week when we were talking about insured and uninsured and all the different types of rates. But if you have a rental property, you're paying at least 0.25% premium on that over everyone else too. So these rates hit you even that much harder as a rental or investment property owner, investor, because you're getting that extra. You're probably sitting at close to, even on a variable, you're probably sitting at close to 5.5-6% right now on your interest rates, and that's not on a multi-unit either, Dave. You're talking about if you have a multi-unit building of 8 units or 10 units or something like that. I mean, I guess it would be a bit different, but
I just renewed. I just renewed, and it's 669.
Yeah,
crazy,
wild,
from low twos. And that's on a multi, but I mean, I think no matter what, it comes down to supply. We've talked about this ad nauseum over the past years, about an issue of supply, and we talked about it when there wasn't enough properties being listed, when there was so much demand with low rates. Right now, we've got properties sitting on the market, and it kind of seems funny that we're talking about supply issues, but the supply issues come down to like the rental market, but also the resale market, or for home ownership. People are just sitting on the sidelines right now because of the mental aspect of where rates are at. It's not that they're not buying. It's like Groundhog Day of us talking about this over and over again, but
welcome to
really
March 2022.
It
Supply
really does
issues.
it really does impact the entire market, from the resale to the rental. And right now we're just seeing that flip, that it was the resale home buyer side that was being affected the last 2 years, and now it's flipped to the rental market side in a lot of cases.
I had a very interesting. I watched The Big Short again last week. Great movie, back on Netflix if anyone's interested. Talking about the collapse in 2008 in the U.S. The housing collapse, economic collapse. And I just realized, like, as I was saying this, I had 2 calls last week from existing clients asking me about their variable rates and what can be done. And like, is there anything we can do? Can we restructure it somehow? Can we lower our payments? It just kind of made me wonder, like, if rates go up in December again, which they very likely would, like, how long would it take for, our default rate is currently at 0.02% or something outrageous in Canada. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the default rate increase early in 2023. I think there's going to be a lot of people that were already kind of at the bootstraps that are really going to have to. The numbers are like their dollars and cents are going to be very tight in early in the year, and I think that extra rate increase could really, hit the precipice where people are in a very precarious position where they might not be able to afford that mortgage payment. And I think if we see the default rate even hit, say 3%, which would be a massive increase, but 1 to 3%, what does that do to the whole economy? That's going to shift things massively. And I wouldn't be surprised. I was very optimistic. I wouldn't say I'm pessimistic now, but I think we're going to see a lot of challenging months for clients, mortgage owners, mortgage holders, some mortgage holders, in the next 6 months as rates increase. And I think, as they start to come down again, obviously we'll see things balance out. But I'm telling everyone right now, and I mean, I'm certainly not an advisor. I'm telling my friends, okay, I'm not advising clients on this, but I'm telling most people
Information purposes only.
Information purposes only.
Asterisk.
This is not legal advice.
Not legal advice, not financial advice. I'm not even a real human. Don't listen to me. But I'm telling people, like, just hold on to your cash if you have it right now, because there are going to be opportunities in the coming 6 months, whether it be in the equities market, real estate market. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities to buy as things, I don't think we're quite at the bottom yet. We've seen things continue to the economy as a whole, I think, is still very shaky as things balance out. Like, we're still in a balancing act right now. And if you have cash, I shouldn't, well, again, not advice, but I would recommend, if I were your friend.
Just tell them what you're personally doing, Paul.
I am holding cash until further notice. But I think there are going to be really good opportunities to make money. I mean, that's, whenever there's a recession or a depression or any sort of massive downturn like we're seeing right now, it's an opportunity to create wealth for yourself as well. But trying to time the market is obviously not usually possible. But I personally don't think we're quite at the bottom yet. I think we're probably getting there. I think we're close, but I think we probably won't see the bottom until sometime early in 2023. That's my new prediction, and I know it's a big swing from what I was saying earlier this year, but things change, people change. That's my current opinion as of today.
Honesty is the best policy.
There's there's stats out there that state that during a recession, more millionaires are created during a recession than any other time. And exactly as you said, Paul, I mean, it's those taking, seizing the opportunities that are out there, buying, if you have cash or you're sitting on the sidelines with it in whatever capacity, looking at, like, you're thinking about the rental, about the real estate market, there's going to be great opportunities out there. The equities market, there's going to be great opportunities out there. Businesses, if you're thinking about starting a business, there'll be great opportunities out there. There's going to be a lot of hurt for sure from a lot of the population, but if you're able to kind of get past the hurt and kind of see the opportunities that are, like, presented in all different industries and facets, there's going to be huge growth potential.
I think the biggest opportunity right now in real estate is to look at new builds. They're not selling. There's lots available. They want to sell. The price reductions are coming. The builders are starting to drop prices. And you got to remember, a lot of these are looking to be built 2024. So you got spring, summer 2024. So, if which we've been saying, or if, the general consensus is that rates will start coming down, in mid 2023, maybe by the time 2024 comes around, you're back to a much better rate. And then you've got your new build ready to go. And
you're not
quite a bit.
Or you're not back to a better rate.
But I'm just saying there's an opportunity there, I think, for people that want to buy a new home, because you do have a waiting period.
Greg, we talked about this when we were together last week, but I had a client reach out to me right before we got together, asking me about, considering getting a line of credit to then turn around and invest into the market. And I said, usually I'm all for that strategy. Like, I think it's great to leverage the equity you do have to further invest and further your wealth. But in this case, I just kind of broke it down for him while we were chatting. I didn't even have a predisposed position. I just said, listen, this is a situation you're going to be paying. Let's say it's prime plus 1. It might be less, but let's just use that as a hypothetical. You're paying 7% to borrow that money. Yes, it's interest only, but the market is still dipping. So, I mean, if you're paying 7% to earn, 10% maybe would be a great return in most markets. So, I mean, you're risking a 7% interest rate to maybe make 3% gains, which then you're going to pay capital gains on if it's not in a TFSA or RSP or what have you. So it's a tough. That's why, again, another reason to hold cash right now, like paying 7% to invest and maybe get more. I mean, there are certain facilities you can make more than 7% on, but they're obviously going to, inherently have more risk. And then, you're putting yourself in a even more challenging position. Home prices are dropping, rates are going up, cost of living is going up. Like, hold your cash. That's all I'm saying.
Hold your cash.
Cash is king. Cash is king.
Or buy a house if you need a place to live. If you need a place
or buy a house, yeah.
And I'd say hold cash for an opportunity to invest.
Yes, that's my point.
When inflation is rampant, that cash becomes, diminishes in value. So if you're just holding on to it, just hold on to it and do nothing with it, then you should at least put in a GIC at like 5% right now. But hold cash if you're looking for opportunities and you're looking to invest one way or the other. But not advice. Just
we need that disclaimer, eh? Like all
just blinking on the screen.
Like all the other shows, we need to just start the show with, by the way, this is not financial advice in any way. This is for entertainment purposes.
Can we get a ribbon? Can we get a banner just across the bottom, like on CNN? Just like
should probably
not
start
advice.
Doing that so that we don't get sued.
A ticker.
I was listening to TOREP for 12 months. I did exactly what they told me. Now I'm broke.
Well, we know that wouldn't happen. That's so far our predictions have been pretty good.
Yeah.
There are a few people that disagree with our opinions on YouTube, but
I love it. There we go. This is not financial advice.
Yeah, there's some people that don't agree with us, but those people don't agree with anyone, so it's all right for them.
And at the end of the day, it's okay not to agree with us.
Absolutely,
we're literally just having conversations amongst one another. It just happens to be recorded. That's all.
Oh, there's people listening to
this. Where are we right now?
Yeah. Yeah, Dave. I know you wanted to touch on a few of the comments. Did you want to save that for next week?
Oh, wait, let's touch on them now.
We can touch.
I'm ready. Touch me.
So let me just see here. I got to pull them up. It was regarding, I think, our forecasts. I'm just trying to think of exactly what the comment was. I like how these guys know how interest rate policy is going to go. I guess you told all your buyers last year that rates would be 4% higher by the end of the year. Stop the hell what you are saying. Stop it. For God's sake, stop your forecasts. You know nothing. You both should try different lines of work. Tell us how you really feel.
I like Jeff O'Toole's emphatic comments. Again, we're speaking from a position of reading what the economists, what the Bank of Canada, what the finance minister, CMHC, all these other bodies have been putting out. So someone like Jeff saying that, if I guess you told all your buyers rates would be at 4%. Well, if you go back to what even what our Bank of Canada head, Tiff McCallum, said in October of 2020 was, borrow Canadians, borrow as much, and you can YouTube this. So clearly, it's not just us. Tiff McCallum head of Bank of Canada, saying, borrow as much, Canadians should borrow as much as you want because interest rates are going to stay low. Don't have to worry about the rising cost of interest rates. They will stay low for the foreseeable future. The finance minister, the Canadian finance minister, end of last year, talking about inflation being transitory, not being entrenched, that rates are going to stay low. So, did we predict that rates would be where they're at right now? No, absolutely not. But all major economists, even our head of the Bank of Canada, even our finance minister, had not been indicating this or had been foreseeing this. So, to Jeff's point, no, we were, like, for what everyone in the economy and in finance was really seeing, other than probably a couple of economists that were seeing that we should have started raising rates earlier because inflation was starting to creep up and they left them too low. But yeah, this was not something that anybody really had been forecasting. So, again, where this is us giving our opinion of where we think something is going to be, just like these sale prices. We are not saying to take this with absolute certainty either.
And who knows? I mean, prices could double tomorrow, and rates. Maybe there's going to be a rate decrease in December. I mean, who knows?
And that's the thing. I think it needs to be. I mean, it should be obvious to most people that we work in an industry where we work with what's in front of us, and we see what's going on around, and we take notes,
speculate,
and we advise on what we see. All we can do is give our advice as from what we've seen in the past, which I think we all did very well in terms of where the market is going. But there's things that are just out of our control. Like, basically, comments like what Jeff is saying, is like, it's almost like saying like, oh, these guys didn't predict the pandemic or something, or did predict the pandemic. Like, I don't even know what I'm trying to say here. I'm just trying to say that there are things that are well beyond our control, and we just work with what's in front of us at the time in our experience.
And really it's looking at the history. Like, history tends to repeat itself. So we have to look at,
which we always say, the 20-year cycle.
Yeah. We have to look at historical data. Where things have been is typically, an indicator of where things are going to go. Obviously other aspects come into play that are outside of our control, like Greg said, whether that be a 2008 housing crisis, a pandemic, a Nortel crash in the market.
A war.
A war.
And you know what? I will toot our horn a little bit here. Since for the last 2 years, since we started this, like really working this show, we have always said that we are right in the middle of the typical Ottawa, Ontario, Canada 20-year cycle. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the data going back to the 1960s, it's exactly on point, like to the year, basically. The last time it went up 20% was in the 1980s. And so it was almost as close to what happened in the last 2 years. And that happened only 40 years ago. So, or no, was it the 2000? Was it the 2000s?
2000s.
Yeah, 2000s. So, I mean, if you look at the history of real estate, we were bang on with what happened. And we always said, we're at a peak that is definitely going to level out no matter what, no matter whether it's up or down, maybe a bit. But we knew that something was coming and that it had to change. We didn't know how soon it was going to come, what the rates were going to go to, but we've definitely always been talking about, since we started the show, that we are in the middle of the peak of the 20-year cycle in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. Totally.
Pendulum.
And that's exactly what happened. It's happening now. The leveling out. The leveling out.
It to me, it sounds like, I don't know. I Justin he's very angry in that comment. He's very angry.
Mr. O'Toole's very angry. He's allowed to be angry. I mean,
perhaps your interest rate is up. All of ours are up. And it does very much suck. I mean, from a payment standpoint, increasing like it has, by almost 70% on variable, costs of gas and food and everything else from regular monthly costs have skyrocketed. It's not a great time for the general population, and it does suck. So I think
and it's gonna change, and it's gonna change again. It's gonna happen again. Might be worse next time. Might not be worse. Who knows?
Yes, that's good advice, Greg. Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
This is not financial advice. I'm just having fun here.
I'm gonna get a T-shirt. Just says that on the front. This is not financial advice.
I am not.
I'll get one for Dave. This is not tax advice.
Yeah. But it's like, and that's the thing. It's like people. There's just so many. I mean, everyone's got an opinion, but it is difficult right now. Buyers and sellers. It's challenging for everybody, and there's just kind of like this big standstill, which is fine. That's what it is, and. I read this article the other day. I can't remember where it was, but it was like this big thing, like, real estate agents now will be losing on average $45,000 a year from their income due to this market shift. It's like, good. and
what a stat, too.
It's like, some people are like, yeah, they don't deserve that money. You know what? Maybe we do, maybe we don't. It doesn't matter. We're in a job. We're losing money now too. There's things going on. It's affected all around, but it's.
Well, on that note,
let's get into the mood boost.
Slide and boost. Should we boost some moods?
Speaking of buyers and sellers, that was actually the spot I was at when the guy told me there was lights out. So just coming full circle on our conversation. Great spot.
Great spot.
So I have three mood boosts today. World Cup inspired. Okay, we got the World Cup happening right now. We got some World Cup inspired mood boosts, and let's slide into those. So number one, if I can find them, hold on. Number one, what club do Sheeps cheer for? Barcelona. That was the weakest of the three. Number two, I don't care what anyone says about Neymar faking hurt. He's still my role model. And last but not least, my personal favorite. Last weekend, I went to watch my boyfriend's soccer match, and he made this incredible save. He's definitely a keeper. Yeah, definitely a keeper.
Hopefully, you come with some better ones next week.
Well, it was just World Cup inspired. They weren't the best, but they were topical. As always, thank you to you, gentlemen, for being here. Thank you,
Paul.
Steven. And that was a great episode. Lots of info, lots of great info. We will be back next week, as always. Shows are released Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. on YouTube and all streaming platforms. And thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe because we'd really like that.